Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our Plauti winter release. Today we're going to showcase some cool features that we have been developed, and this is our last release and the webinar for the year. So make sure to stick around also for the Q&A afterwards. Quick agenda for today, of course, after our data get out of sneak peek here. The speakers today, Nicola, Enterprise Solution Plauti, and Ruben Nakamp, product manager. And we are Plauti, generating data happiness since 2012 with over 2,500 customers. We are actually generating data happiness by ensuring that everybody that works with data in their Salesforce is actually making a productive session and is enjoying it, of course. And you probably know us from some of our solutions for Salesforce into data quality. One is duplicate check, of course, where you can find and merge duplicates natively in Salesforce. Another one is a record validation, where you can format, validate, and parse email address, phone numbers, and postal addresses. We have also our mass data enabler and mass bulk data actions into Plauti data action platform. Again, this is happening natively in Salesforce with different execution methods and by granting permission sets to your power and end users alike. And the last but not the least, into the Plauti roster is Super Round Robin, our natively routing and assigning solution that can allows you to assign and route any record in Salesforce with automations by keeping also SLAs as well as logs for your assignments. So basically allowing you to scale up your business by making sure that your records are not sitting there unattended. And all these engines together compose our Plauti Data Management Suite, which is the most complete and native high data quality solutions for your Salesforce. All right, so a quick sneak peek into the agenda. We're going to get into the release today. We're going to also have some showtime, of course. And then at any point, you can drop your questions in the comment sections and basically ask any specific questions that you have on the new release and our product itself. I was just about to start by discussing to you. We probably received the newsletters already about the DC entry redesign. Now, DC entry is our our easiest way to decide how to manage potential duplicates in your native entry pages as you're creating your records or you're editing them, by deciding to either block the record creation or allowing them in, right? And now admin can configure either to notify the users or blocking them, depending on their permission sets, and all within the native layout of the duplicate check intuitive design. We're not going to showcase it today as it's already available, so you can actually test it yourself by changing it into the page override forms layout. But indeed, like what we would like to show you, which is much more interesting, and we're pretty excited to show you, is the micro library. Now, back into DAP, that action platform, we have macros, right? But what are macros actually? So macros are predefined actions that can be reused, and these are indeed executed manually by authorized users, or scheduled to run on the desired frequency, or even triggered by specific Salesforce events, right? The whole goal here, of course, is to empower you to have more complex actions that you can personalize to your needs and even empower them to end users. And of course, with the new release, we actually had a micro library, as you've seen from the newsletter, that can enhance your collection by simply downloading them from our website, and then increase the potential of your Salesforce with our solution. But of course, it's time to let's see it in action. So I will pass the word to Ruben.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. It's good to see so many familiar faces in the attendee list. So yeah, what Nicola mentions, we have launched the public macro library And one of the reasons why we designed this library is because if we take a look at data action platform, we have all these great base actions in the action library, such as mass update and find and replace, assign ownership, and the GPT actions. But we see that some of our users find it really difficult to find really great use cases for applying these base actions. So that's the reason why we created the macro library. The macro library, we're going to check it out in a second, consists out of ready-to-use macros with a pre-configured configuration, which you can use as a template. So we want you to be inspired by these macros and use them to your advantage. And of course, by changing them to meet your specific requirements. So what I'm now looking at is the macro library, or the action library, sorry. And you can already see that I have a bunch of macros that are in here. And on the top right, we got the import macro button, which we can use to import a macro. Now, we can find the macro library at our website. So if we go to the plauti.com website, we'll go to the product section, we will find data action platform. And then one of the menu items is the public macro library. So in here we have, we put down some macros that we built that you can simply download, import, and apply to your data. So if we look at the macros that we have, for example, an email domain typo corrector, which you're going to check out in a second, which is able to correct more than 250 common typos in common email domains, such as Gmail, Yahoo, and whatnot. So we see, for example, that there are sometimes mistakes in website URLs. So there's a macro to be able to correct that. One of the things that we're going to start with is the AI-powered spam detection in cases. So let's check that out. So I can go to learn more, which you will have an overview of what the macro exactly does. I can download it from here. After I download it, I can go back to Salesforce and I can use the import macro button at the top right. I can upload my file. I can take the macro that I just downloaded and choose import. And you can see that it will now turn up in the list. And when we initially import a macro, it's not yet available to all users. Data action platform is built in such a way that the actions that we have in our library can be assigned to users of choice. And this allows you to create power users in Salesforce. For example, you can give someone that works at marketing mass update capabilities from list views. So that someone that interacts with campaign members, for example, via the list view can easily make updates to the campaign members in the list. And like that, we can decide per action who has access to those actions. So when we import a macro new, of course, by default, it's disabled for all profiles. So that's the first thing that we have to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the assignments. And here I can make sure that my profile, which is the system administrator's profile, has access to this action via all the execution methods that we have. I can do this based on profiles. I can do it based on users, whatever you'd like. And then I can save. So only now I, as the system admin, have access to run this action on my Salesforce data. If we take a look at what is pre-configured in this macro, and then again, this macro is designed to detect a spam in cases. And if I edit the macro here, then we can see the prompt that we are using. I'm going to read it really quick. So analyze the following customer case details and determine whether it is a potential email spam message. And I'm asking GPT to return to me a response with closed or new, depending if it's spam, yes or no. And with that, and because the result field is the status field, I will immediately close a case if the AI thinks that it is a spam case, and it will keep it at new if it's not. And like I said, we have many different execution methods to run a macro like this, and this is important to understand. Because this is not something that you would like to run manually. This is something that you would love to automate, this AI spam detection. And using Data Action Platform, we can basically start a macro or any base action literally on any way that a record can be inserted in the database. So we can do it based on record triggers, but also from a Salesforce flow from Apex when a user inserts the record via the normal entry page. But the AP also has batch job functionalities, which we can schedule. We have the action grid from which you can execute these macros in action, which is our grid application. And of course, the traditional list views. So apart from the assignment that we have, so we can decide who is able to access this action, we can also decide where this user can run this action. So we can also make a distinction between the execution methods on user level. So let's put this to the test. I have given access to my profile. I can go to the cases, and you can see 7 cases in here. And if you take a look at the subject line, you can probably see one of them being a spam message, which is amazing opportunity, earn 10,000 weekly from home. So let's see when we select all the checkboxes here, we go to the action launcher. And I'm now running this from the list view, which is an execution method, but it makes much more sense to start this macro on a record trigger. So whenever the case is created, analyze for spam, close it immediately if there is spam detected. Clicking my macro and then starting it. So now it will go case by case and will determine if it's spam. And of course, AI is perfectly capable of detecting spam in cases. So what you could do, you can look for keywords, for example, if you do this rule-based. But if we do it based on interpretation from an AI, from a large language model, the results will be far better. And while I said that, you can see that the spam case was removed from my list view, because this list view only shows cases that are not closed. So if I go to close today, you can see indeed that the amazing opportunity case is now closed automatically. What is good to keep in mind is that we can alter this template. So I'm now using the status field, and I can close the case if the AI thinks it's spam. But we can also introduce, for example, a custom field that indicates a case being spam messages or no. So this is entirely configurable. So the way that I've implemented it now, and which is part of the macro, can be changed to accommodate to your business requirements. If we go back to the macro library, there is another one which is particularly interesting. We can, for example, also set the case priority through AI. We can summarize cases, of course. If we go to the second page, there is one that I would love to show you, which is the billing country converter. So when I access that action, and if we download the macro, so this is a macro which is able to convert the billing country fields and convert it from the ISO value to the fully written out value for standardization purposes. So we have a bunch of standardization macros built ready in the action library, which you can make use of. And this is one of them. And to show you what it can do, going back to Salesforce, I'm going to open up my accounts. You can see here that I have all these accounts, and the billing country is in the ISO standard, the Alpha 2, so the 2-character form of the ISO standard of the billing country. But I want to convert them to the fully written value. So I've already downloaded the macro. I'm going to import it. the top one. So this one does ISO alpha 2 to full name. Again, at the assignment button, I have to make sure that my profile has access to this action via the execution method of my choice. And I'm now ready to use it. If we quickly take a peek under the hood in the configuration of this macro, I can edit it. And you can see that the base action for this macro is find and replace. And it simply finds the ISO 2, the alpha 2 value, and it replaces it with the fully written out value in your database. So we do this for all countries that exist. So there are 83 pages of find and replace. And when we run this, and let's run this one via the DAP job, we can run this on the entire database at once via batch job functionality. So this allows you, if this is something that's interesting to you, to convert ISO alpha 2 to fully written out on your entire database. We can also do the other way around, for example. So I'm going to start a new job. Put in a job name. Then I can select where I want to run it. I want to run it on all my accounts. No filter, no schedule. Clicking next. I've got the macro ready for me. Clicking next again. I'll get my summary. I can start it. So even though we're doing a find and replace for over 250 potential country values, the system is really quick. We built it in such a way that it's able to run these kind of macros on your database really quickly. So even if you have, let's say, 1 million records, we can still achieve this pretty rapidly via batch. So you can see that US, which was the value before, is now changed to United States. Thailand was TH, and so on and so on. So it's a tool that can be used for standardization to conform to a certain standard that you want to use in your database. And we're looking for typing errors as well, which is in there in part of the configuration. So it's a pretty broad standardization action which you can choose to apply to your database. And I think that's how we have to look at the macro library. It's full of these tools that you might need one day that are really useful. And if you want to do it without Data Action Platform, maybe you have to export your entire database to Excel, change everything on your laptop with all these security concerns that come from that, and import them back to Salesforce again, which is of course not an ideal situation. And with DAP, we can run these manipulation actions, data manipulation actions, right from within Salesforce without any data transfer. Now, there's one last macro that I want to show to you. If I go to leads, we see right away at the top some spelling errors in email. So we got Gmail and we got Yahoo. So of course there's a macro for that. So let's go back to the macro library. We got the email domain typo corrector, and I'm going to download that one as well. And again, it would make a lot of sense to run a macro like this on a record trigger, so that it will check for spelling mistakes on all incoming emails automatically without any user interaction. Going back to the DAP setup, I'm going to import the latest download, which is the email domain typo corrector. And we by now know the drill. We have to assign the macro to a profile or to a user. And I want them all. Save. And again, I'm going to run a DAP job on all my leads. Correct email typos. I'm going to select the lead object. Clicking next. I've got the email domain typo corrector over here. Started. This runs on 60 records. So the asynchronous batch job is now created, waiting to be started. And it goes from 0% to 100% on 60 records. And it's doing over 250 potential find and replaces in one configuration. If I go back to my lead list, we can now see that we got Gmail and you. So regarding the macro library, that is a brief overview of what we can do. Go check it out. It's live on our website now, plowdy.com. You can check out the macro library at the top. If you want to play around with Data Action Platform and you don't have a license for the tool, you can simply download it from the App Exchange for free. We have a free version that can do a lot of things, but we also have a trial version for the more premium features. So yeah, definitely check it out because it's worth it. So let's go back to Nicola to take a look at the next subject.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And indeed, next point in the agenda of today is actually something that is really, really cool, and we are very excited to introduce, which is our Plowty data orchestration. So data orchestration basically leverages the potential of flows, so the zero code Salesforce capabilities, right, to take full control of your data. With the single and fully automated flow, you now can basically run all the potential engines of Plowty solutions, so you can deduplicate, validate, standardize, and even route records at the same time without ever actually have to configure anything like manually anymore, right? And the cool thing of this is that now you can have also some custom outputs, for example, related to some Salesforce limitations in terms of information that you can grab from a previous record converted into higher hierarchy objects, and of course seamlessly speed your records from the creation point up to the sales rep hands. But I will actually share back the word to Ruben that can actually show it up to you. All right, take it away, Ruben.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, data orchestration. We're pretty excited to be able to have this functionality in Salesforce, and it's indeed something that makes use of components from the entire product suite that Plowty has, and it allows us to control basically the entire life cycle of a record, from when it comes in to when it's assigned to a user in Salesforce. And because of all the things that we can apply to that life cycle, all the functionality that we can execute, we can make sure that the receiving user always knows the full context of the record, which is really important. So whenever someone from sales, for example, gets a lead assigned to them, using our functionality, you definitely know that this is a new lead. So it doesn't exist anywhere in your CRM yet as an existing customer or as an account or whatever. So having this context-rich, deduplicated and validated records being presented to your end users right at point of entry is very valuable, and I'm going to show you a couple examples of that. I want to start off with showing you the building blocks or the flow actions that Plowty Data Management has across the full product suite. Because the things that we are showing and the product that you can install, which is data orchestration, you can install it in your Salesforce environment, is a template. So it's something that you can use and modify to accommodate to your specific business requirements. And these are some of the building blocks that we have in PDM. So we can find duplicates. For example, we can do it by ID or field values. We can merge records. We can convert records. We can store the duplicates that we find in the process in the duplicate check job for manual review, for example. We can route the record with super round robin, and the routing is very intelligent, so there's load balancing behind it. There is round robin assignment behind it, of course. And like that, yeah, we can do a number of things to have full control in the life cycle of our records. And I have 4 demos to show you. So 4 situations that can happen in Salesforce. And the first one, and the first demo is when a new unique lead is added. So when a lead comes in, of course, we want to verify a couple of things. We want to make sure if the lead is valid, if it has a valid email address, a valid address, if it's sent along a valid phone number for reach out. It's very important. But also, we would love to know, and we need to know if the lead is unique, or if there is any information somewhere in the system scattered in contacts, accounts, or maybe also in leads. That can tell us more about the context of the record. So what kind of record is it? Is it an existing customer? Is it truly a unique new lead, a new prospect, which is interacting with us? And in this first demo, we are looking at a unique lead. So we are not able to find any information in the database that is linked to this lead. And I'm going to show you how that works. So if we go to the Salesforce setup, we can find the flow. Let me show you where to find it. So this is the flow overview, and we can find the Plauti data orchestration flow. And in one flow, we are able to handle all of these 4 use cases. And it looks like this. So the flow is launched, and it is launched when a record is inserted. And the trigger for this is Data Action Platform. In Data Action Platform, we have a tool called Direct Action, which can start this flow for a record that's being inserted. And via Direct Action, we can decide what the trigger should be. So is it a SOAP insert, for example? But we can also work with a bulk insert. So if you do an import, we can run through this entire flow as well for every individual record. So it's up to you to decide when you want to trigger this. So at the beginning of the flow, we will do validation. And the Apex Validate record will validate an email if it's in there. It will validate the phone number if it's in there, and it will validate the address if it's in there. And if it's incomplete, for example, we can autocomplete the address, we can standardize it. And because we do this for all records, it's helping us in finding duplicate records in the end, because at first we standardize all the records to conform to the same standard, which is very helpful. So after the validation finishes, we are going to look for duplicates. And we are going to look for duplicates in the lead object, in the contact object, and in the account object. And if you use person accounts, we have a specific flow for person account flow as well. So we can definitely accommodate to that. After we find the duplicate records, we have our first decision element. And the decision element is a yes or no, and it basically returns if there are duplicates found. If there are no duplicates found, and this is the first use case example that we are going to demonstrate, it's a unique lead. So the new lead that got inserted does not have a match somewhere in accounts, somewhere in contacts, and somewhere in leads. So we follow this path all the way down, and then we route the lead using super round robin, because we know for a fact that the new lead is a unique lead and there is no duplicate in the system. So we can route it to sales. Part of the flow is creating a log in a custom object that is part of the package. So for every record that passes this flow, we show a log, we store a log exactly about what path that record took, and why in the end we took the path that we took. So this is what we do. We create that log file, and then we link the log file to the new lead that was just created. So let's show this in action. I have this web form here that I'm going to use a couple of times, and we are going to insert Michael Scott. And if we take a look at the values that we're going to insert, then we see that the phone number is currently not standardized to the international format, so it's not a valid phone number the way that it's written right now. We got an email address, and we got an address which is not complete. We're missing a postal code, and we're missing a state, province, and the country is in the ISO Alpha 3 standard, which is not how you write an official address in the United States. So I'm going to send it over, and then we see our beautiful data koala. And then let's check out what's happening in Salesforce. So just to briefly walk by it again, new lead is inserted, we validate it first, then we look for duplicates. Well, for this one, I know there is no duplicate in the system. And because we verify that the record is unique, we can safely assign it to sales for a quick follow-up. So if I now open up my leads list, then we can open Michael. And if we go to the details, then you can see your campaign is added, filled in web form. The interesting thing is that if we look at the phone number, it's now standardized because in the first step, we validate the record. So it's now standardized towards the international format. If we take a look at the address, then we see there is a postal code. There is a state added, and USA is changed to United States. So this is the way that you officially write an address in the United States. So we enrich the address and we standardize it towards the official notation of the standard. In RV Live, we can get a confirmation of this, by the way. So the current address is verified. The phone number is correct. However, the email, mscott@dundermifflin.com, will bounce. The email does not exist. So I have this information now stored in my database. Also, the record is now assigned to sales because we verified it was unique. So it's an actionable record that sales can approach. And we know that as well because on the top right, we get a notification, a new lead record has been assigned to you. And this is functionality that comes from Super Round Robin, which is also a new feature, by the way. In Super Round Robin, we can now send these desktop notifications to the user whenever we assign a record to the user. We can do this via the desktop, via SMS. We can do it via the Salesforce application on your phone or via email. So that's up to you on how to configure that. So I hope so far it makes sense. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them. So yeah, we now saw this, right? The second example is when a new lead is added via a web form, for example, or via any other insertion method that has a duplicate lead in the system. So let's see how that goes. So I have this record over here. It's myself. And you can see here that the record that is already in the system does have a mobile phone. It has an email address, but it doesn't have an address, right? So what we're going to do now, we're going to insert the record. Try to type as quickly as I can. I'm from Plauti. I'm going to use our office address. And just to show you this again, I'm not going to enter a postal code or a state province. I'm just going to keep it like this. So I'm going to send this over. And now let's check out the flow again for situation 2. So record comes in, we validate, we find duplicates. And in the first decision element, it will now find a duplicate because we just saw the lead that already existed in the database. So we go to the left side. Then first, we're going to check, is the duplicate that we find a contact? Yes or no? And no, it's not a contact. So the record that was in there was a lead. If it was, and we'll show that in the next demos, we will convert it towards the existing contact. Second step, we're going to check, does an account exist already for this new inserted lead? Decision yes, no. If it is, we're going to convert it to be so that the lead belongs to the existing account. But also know the account is not found. CloudyBV, the account is not an existing account in my system. So we're going to check. So then it must be a lead. And yes, in this case, it is a lead. We automatically merge it right from the flow. Then we create a log file so that there is a trace history of what happened and why the merge was done. And we link that log file to the lead. And we send again a notification about what happened. And this last step, notification, is important because you don't only want to know if you get a unique lead assigned via super round robin, but you also want to know that a lead that is already on your name, so an existing lead in the database, has had new interactions with the company. So for example, it's already in the database, then the lead filled out a web form to require or to ask for more information or a brochure, for example. So as an owner, you want to be notified of this new action. So that's why we also here send a notification. Now let's see if all that makes sense. So this was the existing record, right? So I'm gonna hit the refresh button. And then we see that RV Live has a lot new information to work with. All of a sudden, to the existing record, a new campaign is added. Person filled in a web form. This is the result of a merge. We got a standardized phone number, which we didn't have before. The email address is validated and is correct and confirmed as a real user. Well, I can confirm that that is correct. And at the address side, we see now an address that has a city, a postal code, and a province. And NL was changed to Nederland, and this is in the Netherlands, the official notation of an address which we conform to. So yeah, what we see here is we've merged the records, we've validated everything, and we've combined all the information in one quality record instead of having two records, of course. And the merge logic which is behind this and the scores that we calculate before we merge all up per configuration, right? So this can be set very strictly to only execute this automating merging based on very high levels of duplicate matching scores, which all makes sense. So if I go to the top right, because I own the record, I can now see that a new lead was merged. And if I open it up, we of course go to that lead, and in the PDO log, we can now see what happened here. So new duplicate lead merged with leads, and the master record is the current record. So in the log, we also always have a trace of what happens and why the record was merged in the first place, and that's because there was an interaction on the web form in this case. Then there's a situation where a new lead is added where an account already exists. So if we go to the account section, we got two accounts over here. One of them is one from Salesforce. And when I go back to my form and I enter a new contact, I'm going to send it over. Quickly running through the flow again. Need this one. So we validate Mark. We try to find duplicates. In this case, a duplicate was found, so we go to the left. Was a contact found? No, Mark does not exist as an existing contact. So we go to the right. We check if there is an account found. Yes, Salesforce is an existing account. So if it is, we're getting the first account, and we're going to convert the lead to become a contact under the existing account. Again, we will create a log file so that there's a traceback, and we will send an email and a notification to notify the current user or the current owner of that contact about what happened. So when we now go to the front side of Salesforce again, and if we open up this Salesforce account, you can now see that Mark Benioff is a contact under the existing account. So exactly what we wanted to do. And then the last demo and use case is if a new lead is added where a contact already exists. And for that, we're going to check out the context list. You got Peter Vos from Rodeo. You might have heard the name recently. So what I can do now, and you probably can guess where this is going. Put it in, run through the flow one last time. So we validate the information, we try to look for duplicates. Is there a contact found? Yes. So we'll take this path and we will convert the lead to the existing contact, which is already linked to the existing account. And of course, we will create a log file for that. So when we open up the contact, then we see that there was a new lead what was converted into the matched contact. Of course, the user gets a notification about what happened. And of course, the notification text can be changed to give it more context from the flow template as well. So it's up to you to configure this further to meet the requirements that you have to notify the user best. So yeah, to summarize before we go back to Nicola and the Q&A, this is some really powerful stuff. Like I said in the beginning, we need to know the context of an incoming record to be able to know where to put it. If you want to reach out to a lead, you need to know if that record is unique. If the record is not unique, so it's a customer that's in your database already, you want to have information in real time about new interaction that this user had with you as a company, so you can act on that. Yeah, these flow templates allow you to set this up. It's really plug and play. It makes use of all the components from the different products in our suite. The things that we didn't see now, but what is possible is the ability to run data action platform actions from the flow as well. So we can do roll-ups, we can consult with ChatGPT if we want to, we can do a mass update. So all these actions from the library can also be used in this flow to extend the current functionality. So it's definitely up to you and how you want to facilitate this and work with the flow to do great stuff. So that's what I wanted to show you. Nicola.
Yeah, that was incredible. Thanks very much. And I do see that we have already a question from Angie. She is asking, what happened if the contact exists but is in multiple accounts?
Yeah, that is a good question. So when we take a look at the flow, then, and if we go to the context area, so it can be that we are finding multiple duplicate contacts. Sorry, I've been talking for a bit too long now. And if that is the case, for all the contacts that we compare the incoming lead to, we generate a matching score. And we do this with the duplicate check scenarios. So as a business, you decide yourself how you want to compare the lead with the contact and what the context of a high score is. In the flow, and again, this is a template, so it can be changed to accommodate to your specific business requirement. We get the first duplicate contact, and the first duplicate contact is the highest scoring one. So we will convert the leads towards the highest scoring duplicate contact, from which the context of the score you can decide yourself. And if the contact belongs to multiple accounts via the one-to-many configuration options which you can set, the contact will still belong to those multiple accounts, because we will simply convert the lead towards that account. We might add new information to that contact, but we will not change anything to the existing relationships that this account has with potential existing accounts. If it is in multiple accounts, but it's not related to the one-to-many, we will simply pick the contact that scores highest, and will then respect the relationship that this contact has with the existing accounts. I hope that answers your question, Angie.
All right. And again, I would like to invite you, if you have more question, to drop it in the comment section. You can also find more resources in there. In the start section, you can find our templates for the Plauti data orchestration in our support website. However, there's also the link, which I'm staring right now and also showing it at the moment, to test Super Round Robin as well, with its own notification update as well from our App Exchange, together with all other Plauti products. All right. I do not see any new question. I would like to thanks everyone for participating today, and then for watching, of course. We'll be sharing the recording right after this. And in the meantime, for more information, make sure to go to plauti.com, and even to start your experience with the chat bot over there. There's no robots, only humans. And I wish you all happy holidays for the time coming, and hope to see you soon in our calls for technical demos and to do business with you. Thank you very much, and have a good one.